Hi everyone, welcome to Cooking with Artists. My name is Mina Stone. I'm the chef and owner of Mina's restaurant at MoMA PS1. I wanted to interview different artists and have them share something personal about cooking and food from their world. My hope is that it shines a light on the essence of who they are, their work, and hopefully who we are as a society.
Okay, well, I guess for the last couple of decades, I've been very interested in archives, personal archives, and whether that's photographs and how do we deal with how do we deal with the past as a way to imagine, let's say, the present, but also to influence the future. And one archive that I've been really involved with for the last several years has been the Ectochrome Archive, which photographs that document such key moments in our culture history. Let's say the Black Popular Culture Conference collaboration with the Dia Center for the Arts and the Student Museum in Harlem, or the Black Male, or Black Nations, Queer Nations. And it is interesting now because what we are experiencing on the street globally, in a way, has its roots in the type of critical discourse, that was happening, let's say 30 years ago in these conferences. And so I think and I was obviously young then, but I guess it was probably the training from my grandfather, who insatiableness around keeping records, archiving through photography, etc. So that has been, I think, a major impulse, in my work over the last 30 years, and it comes in, different ways. It's curious now that I've been sheltering down, is that I'm looking at a series boxes and boxes, hundreds of letters and postcards that correspondences for the last 30 years that I have not seen, let's say, since receiving them, including, let's say, a letter from Essex Hemphill, the great poet who died in '96. And on the envelope, it says silence equals death, just thinking about how a lot of the movements that are happening right now have been influenced by those early manifestations of activism, taking to the street, really challenging institutions, etc. So I would say that's been a major thrust, of my work, in various manifestations over the last, several years, I would say. I guess my relationship to food comes with my grandmother, who's from South Carolina, Charleston. I was very, very close with her. I mean, the kitchen was the site in which both with my grandmother and my mother, there's always a site around the kitchen, around food preparation, around my grandmother, since from the South, so she would make a lot of Southern, cuisine, whether greens, definitely with ham hocks, um, cornbread, apple cobbler, peach cobbler, potato pie, etc., and other dishes. And I was very, very close with her, and I think her three daughters, in a way, were influenced, I think, by the '60s and the health awareness in a way. But it's curious how that Southern dish of greens had morphed over the years and become, for example, somehow tofu got added, let's say, remember, like in the '70s. I'm sure my mother's family was one of the only families that was having tofu, like, and tofu is very different than it is today than it was, let's say, in the '70s. Food is something which is core to the family today, whether that's, Christmas or Thanksgiving or Easter or any holiday, any time where, when I was living in Africa, for example, in addition to living in East Africa, my father being South African, where I spent a lot of time, I also lived in Ghana for 7 years, 2005 to 12. That it was a ritual that she would come down and that there would be a meal. It's sort of like, that includes the blessing of the food. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that's something which is core to the family. That's his child. I mean, that's, that's in my psyche. But there's something about the idea of cooking and people hanging around the kitchen and talking, and which is core, which is core to me, I would say. One staple of my work, since from the beginning, has been, let's say, portraiture. But another more discursive way has been montage, which has been an expansive modality of my practice. Going back to the watering hole that's currently at the MoMA now, to the most recent shadow works that'll be premiering at David Castillo in September. And I think, in a way, that way of mark making, or working from disparate elements, I think definitely influences, I guess my cooking, in that I definitely, I love cooking books, etc. But I would not similar to that idea of montage, saying that I definitely bring in different, elements, to the recipe. Yeah, if that makes any sense. The fact that I follow something strictly, but then I also tend to add another aspect. The dish that I'm sharing with you is it's a green dish. Greens that I learned from my grandmother. Then my aunt added a healthier version by adding white navy beans, and the meat was taken out, and then I actually added chipotle vegan sausage to see how dish, in a way, has morphed, in keeping with the time, if you will. I like to serve that anything with like a piece of salmon, grilled salmon, or I particularly love that with the Japanese yam, which is quite delicious, with some pepper sauce on the side, which is quite amazing. And the great heated up the next day. What I've actually been doing, my most recent thing is actually doing a frittata with the greens. So if you take those greens from the night before, just warm them up, and then put either a few eggs, whisk in with some peppers, etc., and then put that in the oven for 15 minutes. That's quite delicious. So they actually quite great the next day after, so as well.